us to make sure we know the needs of Arkansas homeschool parents and, more importantly, Arkansas homeschool students. And speaking of parents, I believe that COVID-19, we learned many things of the last few years of COVID-19, but COVID-19 truly showed us that homeschool parents are heroes. Because parents who were sending their kids to public schools or private schools or parochial schools got to see firsthand the joy and the challenges and the reward of having a student with them all day, every day. And so to our parents, thank you and God bless you. And speaking of parents, I come from incredibly good stock of parents. My mother taught elementary special education for 34 years. She had the patience of Job. She still does. But during those times, watching my mom sit at our dining room table every single night.
This is Arkansas PBS. I'm Michael Heblin, coming to you live from the state capitol rotunda. This is where Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders will be speaking shortly. This is at an Arkansas homeschool event. Joining me right now to discuss legislation that was introduced yesterday or filed in the legislature. It will be brought to the Senate Education Committee. Representative Carlton Wing, you're one of the sponsors of this bill. First, tell me, it's been about 7 weeks since the governor took office. What has gone into preparing for this?
Well, this has been an immense effort on Governor Sanders' part, and of course she had been preparing this for months before because she campaigned as her number one issue improving education here in the state of Arkansas. And so with a comprehensive bill such as this, it ended up being 144 pages. For her to put that much effort into it, we wanted to get it as correct as possible. Knowing you're never going to make everybody happy, but this is a great opportunity to really propel education here in the state.
And as we're standing by, we're expecting Governor Sanders will be speaking about this legislation here shortly. It'll go to the Senate Education Committee. How quickly do you think we're going to see this advance in the committee you're in? What's the timeline? Any estimate?
Well, I think it'll go fairly quickly. And so we'll have a special order of business on the Senate side, and that'll take place tomorrow. And then if it passes through there, then it goes on to the Senate floor. The next step, in fact, if you saw on PBS how a bill becomes a law, we know that it goes through the Senate side and then the House side. So then it'll come to the House committee probably early next week, be discussed there, also in a special order of business. And what a special order of business is means we set aside time for that bill for that purpose so that everybody who wants to come and speak for or against has an opportunity to be heard. But once it gets out of a committee, then it goes onto the floor of that next chamber. So really within the next 2 weeks, it could be done.
There are some concerns that this is happening pretty quickly. We've known some goals of this legislation, but Senator Clark Tucker was one I read on Twitter last night saying having one business day to digest this and begin debate is too quickly or quicker than he would like. How would you respond?
Well, the thing is that all of the fundamentals of this bill have been discussed for weeks. So there might be some minute details that come out in the 144-page bill, but all of the fundamental principles we've known all along. So this has been discussed for quite some time. We know where we are on the fundamentals of this bill. Empowering parents, raising our minimum teacher pay, those are big, big parts of this bill, and we've known about that for quite some time.
And you're one of 55 members of the House who are sponsoring this. Also in the Senate, you've got a significant number, enough that on this support alone, the legislation could pass.
Yes, that's right. We've all gotten on board with this. Again, we've been discussing the essentials of the fundamentals of this bill for quite some time here in Arkansas, for session upon session. The momentum has been growing, but now we've got Governor Sanders, who has made this her number one issue of her governorship.
And the Lieutenant Governor, the Lieutenant Governor, former Attorney General Leslie Rutledge, speaking right now. We are expecting the governor will be coming out here shortly. In fact, we might see if she is going to be the next speaker. That's Jerry Cox from the Family Council speaking right now.
All of our constitutional officers, and we appreciate all of our elected legislators come down here and stand in front of this podium. So if you're a member of the, Mark, come on down. You need to lead the way. Come down and stand in front of this podium if you are a member of the General Assembly and you're with us today.
Sure.
Now, if you want to face the audience, don't those homeschoolers look good from up here? My goodness, they look great. So here's the plan. We want to capture this moment, and if those of you who are facing this way can turn around and look up, and you will see my friend Bill McIntyre, who has a camera with a really wide lens on it, and he is going to take our photograph. And so I believe Bill says if you're on his right or left, move in as much as you can. If you're on Bill's right or left.
So right now preparing a photo shoot here. The rotunda, in addition to state lawmakers, you've got a whole lot of children who are homeschooled, their parents here for this event. Of course, homeschooling is a key part of this legislation, in addition to providing vouchers for parents to send their kids to schools of their choice, be it private schools, parochial schools. This would be phased in over 3 years. The plan, according to this legislation, would call for this fall to include students coming from F schools who are in levels of intensive support. The following school year, 2024 through 2025, students attending D schools or a parent who is a first responder or a member of the military. And then the third year, every student enrolled in a public school in Arkansas would be eligible for a voucher. So again, we're getting a photo shoot underway right now, and Governor Sanders is expected to be coming out here shortly.
Okay, here we go. Oh, you got it?
If you just take a look here at the faces here.
While we are waiting, lawmakers, if you'll just hold here for a second. I would like for each lawmaker just to walk past me.
So again, the legislation that was filed yesterday and will be considered in the Senate Education Committee is 144 pages long. This was filed just before 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The LEARNS Act, Senate Bill 294, will be taken up, as I mentioned earlier, in the Senate Education Committee. 25 sponsors are in the Senate, 55 members in the House. Enough, even with that level of support, for this legislation to pass. The details on this, the legislation would bring the minimum pay for teachers, starting salary at $50,000 per year, and vouchers would be provided. There would also be some higher standards, more stringent requirements for literacy, in particular that students in third grade. There would also be job training for high school students, and a whole lot more. Some lawmakers, as I mentioned, have said this is a quick turnaround for this bill to be filed just before 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and to be getting consideration beginning tomorrow morning is a quick time. But a lot of people, lawmakers as well as educators, said they spent last night reading through this bill. A lot of lawmakers obviously were involved in the process of crafting this, but a lot had said they still didn't know specifics until this bill was filed. So right now we're seeing lawmakers and lawmakers being introduced. And as we wait for the governor, come back here with Representative Carlton Wing. Do you expect, tell me how educators, there have been a lot of people involved in this process who have been, who have expressed concerns about this. Have you been listening to people who are concerned, who maybe have expressed opposition to this proposal?
Absolutely. I mean, it takes everybody to be able to put their input in, and it's in part because of their input that we've been able to craft this bill to meet a lot of their needs. It was resounding that we needed to raise the minimum teacher pay in the state of Arkansas. We were down at $36,000 for an entry level, and that was after a significant boost in 2019 to get it up to $36,000, but we were still among the lowest in the country, certainly among the lowest in the South. So what we've done now is by listening to what the teachers were telling us, now we've boosted that minimum teacher pay to $50,000, which puts us in the top 5 in the country. But it gets even better still, because when you figure in Arkansas's low cost of living, we are among the best states in the country as far as cost of living is concerned. You throw a minimum teacher pay of $50,000 on top of that, this is the place for teachers to come and teach.
It sounds like we're getting an introduction for Sanders, so let's go ahead and go back to the podium, and we'll be ready here as she comes out.
Sarah has previously worked in leadership for U.S. senators, governors, and presidential campaigns in Arkansas. That would be Tom Cotton and John Roosevelt. In 2007-2008, you all may remember that Sarah helped her father, Governor Mike Huckabee, in his run for the presidency, and they had victories in Iowa and 7 other states. And so she's been honored by the New York Times. She has a New York Times bestseller, and so forth and so on. But she's an Arkansan, folks. She grew up in Pine Bluff and Texarkana. She went to school at Central High here in Little Rock. Went to Washita Baptist University. My apologies to you. I feel very, very proud that Sarah is a true Arkansan. But I want to say this. I've known Sarah since I walked these halls back in the 1990s with her father, Governor Huckabee. And there is nobody that I respect more than her dad for the stand that he took. He fought the good fight out here, and in fact, in 1997, he and I worked together to deregulate homeschooling and got rid of some of the egregious things that they were making us do as homeschoolers. And you may not know it, but you're still benefiting from some of that work that we did back in 1997. Those were hard-fought, hard-won freedoms. Sarah, I heard your dad say one time that politics is a contact sport. And it is, for those of us that have been in it for a while. And I've got a plaque in my office, Sarah, that your dad gave me. I believe it was on the 10th anniversary of Family Council. He came over and just said, Jerry, I want you to have this plaque. And you know what it was? It was the man in the arena. President Roosevelt's speech about the man in the arena. And the part I love most in there is, it's not the critic that counts, the one who points how the strong man stumbles, but it's the man in the arena whose face is mired with dirt and sweat and blood, and who strives greatly and aspires to do great deeds and all. And Sarah, I view you as the person in the arena. Your education bill has the potential of doing more for the people of Arkansas, hear me people, than any bill I have ever seen introduced in this building in 34 years. It's the time. And so Sarah, I want you to know that you're not in the arena alone. These people are with you. We are in the arena with you. And we will fight with you, for you, against whatever comes. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Governor of Arkansas.
Thank you so much, Jerry, and good morning. You know, a lot of people probably don't know all of the history that my family has supporting the homeschool community. In fact, the very first governor to ever appoint a homeschool parent to the State Board of Education was my dad, and it was the first appointment he made. And that started not only a long history, but a long life of respect and love for the homeschool community. Not only did he do that, but we also discovered over the course of many campaigns that homeschool families make the very best campaign volunteers. So be happy to sign anybody up while you're here. Jerry, thank you so much for the very kind introduction, but more importantly, thank you for the work that you do every day on behalf of conservatives across the state of Arkansas. The work that you do at Family Council has literally helped shape the conservative movement here in our state, and for that we are incredibly grateful. It is so exciting to be here this morning to celebrate Homeschool Day at the Capitol. Thankful for Representative Cooper and Lisa Crook from the Department of Education, and most importantly, all of the homeschooling advocates and parents that are here today. We are right off the heels of filing what we think is the most transformational education legislation that not only our state has ever seen, but frankly, that our country has ever seen. So what a fitting way to celebrate with all of you here this morning. Like a lot of Americans, I got my first personal experience homeschooling during the pandemic. Because of unscientific school lockdowns, Brian and I decided to get together with my brother and sister-in-law to homeschool our 6 kids together. I had just finished up 3.5 years at the White House and was kind of looking forward to a break. Let me be clear, the joke was obviously on me. There is absolutely nothing relaxing or nothing remotely similar to a vacation about homeschooling 6 kids that were in the 2nd grade, kindergarten, and preschool. We had our work cut out for us. But the experience gave me an even greater appreciation for the moms and dads who decide to homeschool their kids. I also had absolutely no idea that 3rd grade math had gotten so hard since I had taken it many years ago. There are tens of thousands of homeschool children in the state of Arkansas, and that number is growing every single day. I've always believed that parents know what's best for their kids, especially when it comes to education. Deciding to teach your kids yourself is no small commitment, and Arkansas should help parents when they make the choice to do so. As I hope all of you know, the legislature introduced my education bill, Arkansas Learns, yesterday. That legislation will go a long way toward assisting Arkansas families that decide to homeschool their kids. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the courage and the strength from our legislators, certainly Senator Breanne Davis, Representative Keith Brooks, who helped lead this effort, as well as all of our co-sponsors in the legislature who are taking a stand for Arkansas students and making sure that we deliver the very best education opportunities in the state of Arkansas. Part of this plan includes a new program called Education Freedom Accounts. Parents that decide to opt in will receive resources to send their children to whatever school works best for their family, whether it's public, private, parochial, or homeschool. For those students that have been trapped in failing schools just because they live in the wrong zip code, this will be a game changer. And for those parents who want to homeschool their kids but can't afford it, The Education Freedom Account program will finally allow them to give their children the tailored homeschooling that they need and frankly that they deserve. Once this legislation passes, and let me be clear, it will pass, we will get the job done. Education Freedom Accounts will open up to our neediest families first, and in 3 years it will be available to every family in the state of Arkansas. I know how hard homeschooling advocates have fought for a bill like this. I'm proud to be the governor who will finally get it over the finish line. As I said when I was running for this office, I want to take our state to the very top. And this is one of the things that will help us get there. Thank you all for joining us bright and early. I also hope all of the kids here are getting school credit. If you need me to sign a slip of some sort, I'll be happy to do that. Frankly, I think it should be more than just school credit. I think there should be some bonus points involved. Good luck today as you tour our Capitol and you meet with your legislators. And I hope that every legislator that you meet, you will tell them how important this piece of legislation is. Make sure they look into your kids' faces and they understand the opportunity in front of them, and that we deliver the best education legislation reform that we possibly could. Because we can't do it without the legislature. Thankfully, we have amazing partners, both in the House and the Senate, that are going to make sure that we get this done. But when you leave here today, I hope that you don't end your time of encouraging your legislators to support this bill. I hope that you'll call their office. I hope that you'll email their office and you let them know how important this legislation is and the impact that it will have on your family. We need all hands on deck to get this across the finish line. Let them know that you support the Arkansas Learns legislation. It's the biggest and the boldest education reform in the country. And with your help, we will get the job done and take Arkansas to the top. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you do. God bless you, and God bless our great state. Thank you so much.
And Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders speaking to a packed Arkansas Capitol Rotunda.
We are almost
students,
finished.
parents, state lawmakers,
Let's give
as well
the
as a lot
governor
of
another
reporters
round of
here
applause.
covering this event. This comes again after the filing yesterday afternoon, just before 5 o'clock, of the bill, which will get consideration tomorrow, beginning the
All right,
legislative
so let me make a
process
couple of
in the Senate Education Committee. Live at the state capitol, I'm Michael Heplin, Arkansas PBS.